The dream, and all right, how are we? Everyone good? You guys good? Thumbs up? All right. Thank you all for coming out for our weekly press conference. Today we are going to talk about, give an update on Amtrak, on our license readers, and then also on our water conservation program. First, as many have been following, we have an opportunity to expand passenger rail so long as Congress is able to pass the what's the actual plan? The Build Back Better plan for infrastructure. It's really the Biden infrastructure plan. What we know is that this money could help Amtrak get caught up on its $40 billion of backlogs for repairs and also improve the Northeast Corridor. It is projected to put about $80 billion into Amtrak as far as expansion and services. A few interesting things with this is one of them is Amtrak is one of the, because they are established funding, they get their source from the federal government. They're established as already in policy for receiving funds. This would allow, if needed, that the funds could be passed utilizing the process. What is the name of the process? I have it written down. The reconciliation process. So the reconciliation process allows Congress and the Senate to actually make changes to the budget without needing to go through the filibuster. You're pretty much amending the existing budget. However, when it comes to adding policy to that, that's where it starts to get tricky. Amtrak is pretty much saying that as they move forward, they are an agency that can receive money through the reconciliation process in the budget, and thus, if there was some hangups in Congress for the entire jobs package or infrastructure package, then Amtrak still has a chance of getting through with just a simple majority. So the plan would expand. It would actually, I think it would go into 15 additional states with dozens of new routes and increased service on existing routes. And also, what this does for Wichita is it would connect us with our southern, with the southern route, which means Wichita would have direct connection to one of the top 10 largest economies in the entire world, which is Texas. And that corridor that goes south is a corridor that has been targeted for growth when it comes to attracting and retaining talent. Wichita State targets that corridor for offering in-state tuition with some of their policies. It's one where it would match well with our current population as far as our labor market as it is, and this would add to that. Also connected us to Texas, allows us through Oklahoma City, allows us to offer much more of a of a national plug-in to Amtrak's current infrastructure, which will help us keep prices down when it comes to airline fares and give people more options. Being able to hop on an Amtrak and go a few hours down south to Oklahoma City will allow folks who are expanding their business and trying to expand their customer base to continue to work while they are traveling, and also it's much more environmentally friendly. I think traveling by train has been estimated to be 70% more effective than traveling by car when it comes to gas emissions. So it's something we're looking close on, and we do need congressional action for that. We are paying attention to what's happening there. There were two maps that we saw recently. One of them was retweeted by Secretary Buttigieg, and one of those maps actually didn't have Wichita in it. They actually went to Tulsa all the way up to Kansas City, and then once the Biden recovery or Biden jobs plan was announced, Amtrak really released their plan that did include Wichita. So we're hoping that if they do expand, we stay in that conversation and that we can bring Amtrak back to Wichita for the first time in decades. Next thing we're going to talk about is the license plate reader program. So I want to introduce Lieutenant Casey Slaughter. Yesterday, the council approved the contract to install license plate readers throughout our community. During these 4 months of our trial pilot program with the readers, we have seen 156 arrests have been made and 152 stolen cars have been recovered. This tool has not only helped us solve cases, but also helps us save lives and makes our community safer. During the discussion with with Casey Slaughter last week or last few days ago at the council meeting, there have even been incidents in which this type of system has helped find, I think it was a 1-year-old, you'll probably tell the story actually, a 1-year-old who was reported missing and was able to be, because of the system, the 1-year-old was able to be found without any harm coming to that child. So to tell us more about this program, of course, we welcome up Lieutenant Slaughter, who has done a really great job spearheading this and working with the council to make sure that we are able to modernize and be more efficient with our community policing strategies. You gotta come all the way up. He's really not shy.
All right. All right. Good morning. I'm Lieutenant Casey Slaughter, and I'm the Auto Theft Section Commander and Larceny with the Wichita Police Department. We purchased we went to the council on Tuesday to ask if we could continue to fund the flock program. Ultimately, it was decided by the council 7-0 to purchase a 1-year contract for the flock license plate readers. So at this point, we'll have to look for ongoing funding in future years. But for this next year, this is going to be a funded contract. The cost is $275,000 per year if funded at the current level of LPRs that are purchased. These are placed around Wichita, all parts of Wichita, and all bureaus through what I would call an ethically designed network. And what I mean by that is it's completely data-driven. We use data-driven analytics and crime hotspots to locate areas where crime has risen, and we put the license plate readers in those locations. But the great thing about these is that they're modular and solar-powered, so we can take these license plate readers at some point when crime is resolved and move them to other areas that need our attention and help. Types of crimes that we've helped to solve during the program or the license plate reader deployment. Homicide. It's been directly involved in and used in the capture of a homicide suspect. Ag battery firearms. We've caught several shooting suspects. Ag robberies, carjackings. Again, I mentioned in the council, we caught a carjacking suspect on day one when the license plate readers went online. Multiple burglary suspects. Obviously auto theft suspects, multiple of those. Felons in possessions of firearms. We've seized 24 guns during this period. Kansas Department of Corrections absconders, large amounts of drugs, other theft charges, counterfeiting, and domestic violence suspects. So it really spans the range of crime all the way top to bottom in how we use this to capture suspects. To date, I've got some numbers that are actually up to date. We've recovered 158 stolen vehicles. I just did the workup this morning. 81 stolen license plates. Those are completely separate from the actual stolen vehicles. I mentioned 24 guns earlier. Also 163 arrests we've now made. So this is up to date as of today. And a majority of those arrests are felony cases. I mentioned in the council, we've cut the average recovery time, according to our statistics, from 15 days to 10 days during that flock time period during the time we had the trial. I talk a little bit about, also I have some up-to-date information on vehicles recovered as well. So in the time period between 2016 and 2021 shows that we are at the highest rate since those years in number of auto thefts. We're at 1,270 during that time period, which goes between November 9th and April 1st. Recoveries, so we are also at the highest rate of vehicle recoveries during this time. We've recovered 977 vehicles, and in 2020 we were at 786. So that's a pretty large increase in recovered vehicles. The technology is very safe. The data is deleted on a rolling deletion within 30 days, or at the 30-day mark, and it can only be accessed for a legitimate law enforcement purpose. So one of the things that we're really proud of in this program is that we have a very robust policy that has stood the test of time. And the license plate reader director in Houston, HIDA, which stands for High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area, has shown that we're the model, or has said that we're the model for license plate reader programs throughout the nation. So good policies, training. We have a standardized training process that we use for all officers in the department, whether they're brand new or they want to get access as a experienced officer. We also have refresher training that we offer, and we make sure that we keep up on case law and any updates. They've named me the license plate reader administrator, so I'm the gatekeeper when it comes to access to the system, and nobody gets access unless they have the proper training to do so, and they're in compliance with policy. We have a very specific policy to license plate readers, and it's policy number 804. And then also want to mention audits. We do random and directed audits. So if I had a reason to suspect that somebody was using the license plate reader program for some kind of illegitimate purpose, I would go in and look and ensure that they're in compliance with policy. And then we also do random audits as well. No audio is pulled from, in fact, they don't record audio from license plate readers anywhere in the city, and no personally identifying information is ever transmitted through the system to FLOC where the data is held. And with that, I'll stand for any questions that you might have.
We usually do questions at the end.
No, very good. All right. First timer here.
Yeah, don't go far.
Okay.
Don't forget your mask. I want you to breathe in droplets.
Yes.
These dirty droplets, so keep your mask on. Yeah, we're pretty excited about that program, and look forward to the questions for that. Next thing we're going to talk about is the water rebate program. It's something we have been doing for, I think, 7 years. Is that right, Megan? So this last Tuesday, we approved $100,000 to be issued for those who want to participate in the water conservation rebate program. Since it first started, the rebates totaling over $1,230,000 going into our community to help folks pay for water conservation purchases. These purchases qualifying purchases could include dishwashers, rain barrels, toilets, and more. So if you are someone who is interested in participating in this program, please visit wichitawater.com. The money is limited. It is $100,000, so it will likely go pretty quick. So please visit that. It is really beholden to all of us to do what we can to help conserve water, and it's not only good for the environment, but it's also good for economic reasons as well. And we hope to be flooded by people looking to utilize this rebate program. You like that, how Megan was going? All right. She puts the dad puns in there. Moving on, the other thing we just always want to encourage, at least particularly throughout this last year, is just an update on COVID. We are seeing a slight uptick when it comes to COVID spread, according to the data over in the county. However, we hope to combat this with increased vaccinations. As this starts moving through the community even more, we want to remind people that masks are still recommended at this point by not only the legislature, but really every longstanding medical association in our country, but especially locally. We still are requesting everyone wears masks to help keep the spread down so that folks have a chance to get a vaccine, and also the time frame it takes for that vaccine to actually start kicking in. So at this point, because vaccines are open to everyone, and they are, and we just, over at the county, they posted a few sites where, over the next few weeks, where you can go and conveniently get a vaccine completely free. Also, we, at the old library, we have heard really only positive feedback about the program they have over there, where folks are coming in, getting vaccinated, and while they are going through the 15 to 30 minute wait period afterwards, observation period, they can really enjoy the classic architecture of our old library. Really brought new life into that building, and it's something that other communities aren't doing as successfully. We know that we're ahead of the game when it comes to having a smooth process, so we ask that folks go out. There is no more line. It is open to anyone over 16. This is your turn. Not doing a shot now doesn't mean that shot goes into the arm of someone who is in a vulnerable class. All those folks who want them have already gotten gotten their shots. Now we have to attack the spread, which means that everyone who is interested in a vaccine, we would ask that you get one as quick as possible, because we are seeing an uptick slightly in the spread, and a way to combat that is to be vaccinated, so we can get back to normal even quicker. So if there's any questions on anything, then also we got Lieutenant Slaughter here to answer questions, and I believe we have staff with the water treatment program here as well. So, not water treatment, water rebate program as well. So if there's any questions, I will fumble around with the answer until one of these folks come and give me the real answer.
I do have a couple. One about the Amtrak. You mentioned that you guys haven't had it for the last 10 years.
Over, I think it was in the 70s. I meant decades, like in decades. But I think the last time we had passenger rail come through Wichita, I think, I'd have to double check, it was somewhere in the 70s, possibly the 80s. I remember seeing it. But yeah, I have it in my notes. It's been a long time. We have about 30 trains that come through Wichita right now, and one of the things we would have to figure out is Amtrak shares tracks with freight trains that aren't always on schedule. And so if we are going to add a couple more Amtrak trains coming up through there would have to be something worked out, but that's done usually at the federal level.
And you think there will be enough demand to maintain it?
Definitely. I think so. And it's been studied multiple times. Last year, before we all really got locked down with the COVID pandemic, the council, majority of us, went to Washington, D.C. to talk with our congressional delegation, but also we met with department heads. And one of the department heads that I was able to meet with was the people who plan for Amtrak. And according to their studies and their data, this makes sense. Right now, if you go to Newton, and I want to make this clear, if you go to Newton, you can get an Amtrak. This station, if we come through Wichita, it wouldn't affect that. What folks might not know is that when you go to Newton to hop on the Amtrak, you are going on the east to west route. There is really no way to get to Texas or Florida or to the other just off that route. Like, you also have to connect it going south. So by having that on the map it looks like an inch. It's a real small amount of track, especially if they use the old track, they really don't even have to put down new track. Really small amount to close that gap, which will open up Amtrak to, or opportunities for travel on Amtrak to a much larger network.
Question regarding the rebate program. So a lot of communities in the area buy their water from Wichita. Are they eligible to participate in this?
That's a really good question for staff, for the super smart people who help run the details.
Can you say your name is helpful?
Sure. Penny Feist, PENNY-FEIST, with Public Works and Utilities. This year, the rebate program is just approved for residential customers. We have offered it for wholesale customers in the past, but right now the $100,000 is reserved for residential customers only.
Can you explain how that works? I understand it's issued as a credit to your water bill and not necessarily as a check on the person's name?
That's right. So if you're a Wichita Water customer and you apply for the rebate and are approved, it would be a credit to the water bill corresponding to whatever device you purchase. So for example, a dishwasher is a $100 credit. You purchase that, you apply, you're approved. Within a couple, probably weeks, you'll see a credit on your water bill and maybe not have to pay for a month or two. Any questions? Thank you.
When you silence them, that means you did it perfect. So it means you didn't dig a hole like some of us electeds do. Anything else about the license plate program or anything else we covered?
Yeah, on the license plate, what are some of the concerns? I understand you guys are deleting information on all the policies that you have established. What are some of the concerns that you have?
So some of the feedback that the electeds have gotten is, I think, concern about the concept of like an eye in the sky, right? And those were really addressed during the council where, is this big brother looking at everything we're doing, and they were addressing the council in which the software is actually designed just to take pictures of the license plate. So it was discussed that if there was any other person in the background, that's not what it's designed to do. It's not audio recording anything. It's not constantly monitoring folks walking past, and also the access to the data was something that was a concern that folks brought up, but Lieutenant Slaughter has addressed, where if you have access to the data, you have to first get access to the database, which is fully encrypted, but also you have to put in a case number, a reasoning to do that, and so that if you can't just search, I guess, for any reason, it has to be in connection with the case. And the data does get deleted every 30 days. Is that all about? I was just finished my coffee when you came up during that long meeting, so that was pay attention to that one. But yes, so there was some concern, but those concerns have been, we believe, have been met. Also, just the last thing I'll add, and correct me if I heard this wrong, the policy which we just heard today is being kind of, to utilize the system, is being used as somewhat of a model for the rest of the country who's interested in this type of investment. That policy is actually based off 16 different state-level laws that have been put in place to help govern this type of technology. So it's fairly well thought out. And was it 16? I think.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
So when I designed the policy and wrote this, I think back in 2014, we looked at the International Association of Chiefs of Police policies, along with several other local or more local policies like Lenexa, Kansas, and some others that already had license plate reader programs in place. Since then, of course, we've been through several revisions of policy to make sure that we're further bulletproofing our policy and making sure that it's in compliance with best practices all around the nation. We're looking at another improvement, if you will, to policy, and just so we're incorporating flock specifically into the license plate reader policy, and that has also, I've also gone back and looked at 16 different states that have regulations or state laws governing license plate readers. So I'm taking and adopting some good language that I see out of there that that would work for us here in Kansas and in Wichita specifically.
And so the way it works, it will flag license plate that's being entered into the system as stolen, and it will give you guys an idea of the vehicle going through that intersection at a certain time so that officers can come and patrol, or how would it work?
Yeah, that's a pretty good understanding of it. There's really two pieces to flock, or really any license plate reader system. And those pieces are that, one, you can monitor the current alerts that are going through. So if say NCIC which reports to flock, says that there was a stolen vehicle and it happens to go through a particular intersection at a particular time, flock will alert our entire fleet, which will then immediately, hopefully, respond if they're available. The second part of that is the historical value of the data. So we can go back anytime in that 1 to 30 day mark and capture data that applies to a particular ongoing criminal investigation. So if we were looking for a robbery or homicide suspect that just developed on day 20 of the investigation, we can go back and see if there's any corroborating evidence in that area.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch this program, particularly when it's going to change Amber Alerts. You know, if a child is kidnapped or abducted, and you can call the police and, hey, I got the license plate number. Now this system can look for that license plate, and we can get officers to go save that child before they wind up harmed. So there's going to be some really beneficial, I think, because we can look at the cost savings. We can look at the other stuff that, that retrieve stolen property. But when this unites a child with their family, and the child could have been, God forbid, harmed, then that adds like a level of value to the system that is just above and beyond anything you could put on a spreadsheet. So it's successful right now. Looking forward to the next phase of this, and it's in the pilot format. So if there are any hiccups or any problems, we can still adjust it. And again, we want to make sure with the water rebate program that everybody soaks up the opportunity to get a rebate. It's another one of Megan's. All right, any more questions? Thank you all.